Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is White Rice Wednesday. So that means it's time for my Survivor recap. So, a lot went on tonight's episode, so I apologize in advance if this video is long, but I definitely have a lot to say. So, tonight's episode started off with them coming back from tribal council when Nick was voted off, and Jason and Scott are definitely not happy about it. So what did they do? They decided to punish the girls. And how do they do that, you ask? They take away the axe and the machete in order to starve them. I'm thinking to myself, that is so stupid. I mean, by starving them, you're starving yourself, because how do you plan on getting food then? I mean, if you just suddenly come off the axe and the machete, they're going to know you're the one that stole it. So the girls figured out a way how to prepare the food, something with like chopping it with the saw or preparing it with the saw. And Scott was getting all ticked off about it, so then he decided to pour water on the fire so then they don't have fire. I'm like, these guys are acting like a bunch of babies. I mean, it reminds me of in Worlds Apart when Lindsay got voted off. And I liked Lindsay. I thought, she could definitely go far in the game, but when they voted her off, Sierra acted like a whiny brat the rest of the game, and I feel like that's how these guys are acting. They're acting like a bunch of whiny babies just because they didn't get their way. I mean, not Joy, Joe pointed it out perfectly, saying that this is a game. This is what happens sometimes. Sometimes people in your alliance get voted off, but I mean, you can't just give up. And so that made the reward challenge very interesting, because usually they do a schoolyard pick, and this time they had 2 teams of 4, and obviously Jason, Scott, and Ty were going to go together. So they needed to sit somebody out, so Joe offered to be the sit out, and Julia offered to go over to the other team, and that immediately put a red flags for me, because Julia mentioned in a previous episode that she could see herself working with Scott, so that automatically made me think that she was a double agent, and Aubrey definitely caught on to that right away. But the reward challenge, it definitely came down to Jason and Debbie, and Jason ended up winning for the guys, and they won Chinese food. And I gotta say, I'm not impressed with the rewards they're getting. I mean, last week they played for ice cream, and this week for Chinese food. I mean, that's all unhealthy food. I mean, if they keep loading up on this stuff, that's going to make the immunity challenge very difficult for the people who win the actual reward. And I definitely think Julia put a target on her back by going over with the guys. And she mentioned that she thinks that it might be the best move for her. And I don't necessarily think that, because if she does indeed join Jason, Scott, and Ty, she is definitely number 4 in that 4-person alliance. At least, if she's on the other side, she definitely has Michelle. Debbie is loyal to her. She thinks Julia's loyal for all she knows. And at the time, Sydney and everyone was with her, so I really think she would have been better on the other side with the girls. And it's important for the girls to stick together, because with the girls they have Michelle, Julia, Debbie, Sydney, and Aubrey. That's 5. And Joe is very tight with Debbie, and he always votes with her, so that's 6. So if Julia suddenly decides to go onto the other team, she's definitely puts a target on her back, and she's on the bottom. And then the guys can then very easily decide to just vote off Julia, so then the girls are suddenly getting outnumbered. So then back at camp, like I mentioned, Aubrey definitely could see past Julia, and she wanted Julia gone because she can't be trusted, and that she's a double agent. And we even saw that she when Julia had a talk with Debbie, trying to check in, and because Debbie was wondering, like, did they try to pull you over to their side? And she's like, yeah, yeah. And then Ty's chicken's running around, so Julia said, oh, I gotta tell Ty to take care of his chicken, which was code for I'm gonna go talk to the guys. And and she told them exactly what was going on. So automatically they want to, send Julia home. So the immunity, that makes the immunity challenge very crucial in this episode. I mean, immunity is everything in this game, but tonight makes it very crucial. And in the immunity challenge, you had to stack these things, and they had to fall like dominoes and hit this gong. But if you move slightest, the dominoes could fall over and you have to start over. And it was definitely back and forth for a while, because it was Michelle had a great lead and then Julia behind and Jason and Scott, but I believe Michelle bumped hers and Jason and Scott bumped theirs, and then Debbie, Julia, and Michelle were in the lead, and then Michelle gave it a go, it didn't work. Jason then gave it a go, it didn't work. Debbie, I believe, tried it twice and it didn't work, and Julia tried it once and it worked, and Julia won immunity. And she definitely won immunity when it counted, because if she didn't win immunity, she'd be going home. And with immunity, Julia definitely holds a lot of power, because, and it's also a crucial moment for her, because now she gets to decide who she's going to align with in the game. So back at camp, they're trying to figure out who they're going to vote off for tribal council, and the topic of idols automatically comes up, because they think they might have an idol, and obviously they're not going to vote for Julia because she has immunity. So Debbie comes up with the plan to go half and half with Scott and Ty, so that way if an idol is played, then they flesh out an idol and the other person goes home, which, is a good concept. I mean, I don't think Debbie should have revealed that all out in the open like that, but, she thought she could trust everybody. So then Aubrey then says to Sydney that they need to get out Debbie. I'm like, are you guys kidding me right now? That's the stupidest thing ever. You guys need to stick together so you guys can get out the guys. So Julia then goes and tells Jason, Scott, and Ty what Debbie told everybody. So they're prepared to use idols tonight, and they're all going to vote for Sydney. So at Tribal Council, it was definitely a game changer, because and when I mean they, I mean Ty and Jason. Well, actually, no, it was actually Scott who said that Ty and Jason have idols. I mean, I don't know what is going on with people this season, and just revealing, oh, I have an idol to my neighbor. I mean, you don't do that in the game. So Jason then reveals that he's going to do rock, paper, scissors with Sky, and not Sky. He's going to do rock, paper, scissors with Scott, and whoever wins gets his immunity necklace, and then he's on the chopping block, and that's what happened. And sure enough, he gave the idol to Ty. So now Ty has two idols, and he could either use them or he can create the super idol. I mean, for all we know, he's going to do a super idol. So then you would think the girls would then try to split the votes or try to go one way with one of the guys, because now that ties both of them, they have an opportunity to get off Jason or Scott. So when the votes are cast, it is unfortunately Debbie who is sent home, and I definitely think it was a stupid move to get rid of Debbie, because like I said, and even Debbie said it in her exit interview, that it's going to make it very harder for the girls to get farther in the game now that she's gone. And I definitely think out of everybody, I think Debbie definitely had her head in the game. She was definitely a leader, and she was definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I really hope that Debbie gets to come back again. Now, Ty definitely has a lot of power, because now that somebody just gave him an idol, he has two idols. So he can either create the super idol, like I mentioned, or he can be safe for at least two tribal councils now. And I gotta say, this is a real game changer for me watching it, because I was originally Team Jason, but when I seen how him and Scott reacted, that really made me think, who would I want to win the game? And I can respect why Jason is playing the game. He's playing it for his daughters, and especially, for his daughter with autism. And I have autism too, so I feel, I felt that was great that he was out there playing for his daughters. But seeing the way he acted tonight, it just made me lose a little bit of respect for him. I mean, I felt kind of betrayed in a way. And I'm really sad Debbie's gone. I was definitely Team Debbie, but if I had to choose who I'd want to see in the final 2 or 3, I mean, they haven't really specified if it's going to be a final 2 or 3. I'm definitely hope Sydney wins it all, because she's definitely a competitor, and she definitely knows what she's doing, and she is so sassy. I love her, and she can read people. She knows if someone's lying or someone's not, and I think, in my opinion, I think she's a very loyal person. And if I had to choose somebody else, I'd probably, I don't know, maybe I'd think Aubrey, but her decision making tonight made me question that a little bit. So I have to say, right now, I'm definitely Team Sydney. We'll have to see what happens next. The previews for next week shows that they try to persuade Ty to come over on their side, and I'm not exactly sure they're going to be so welcoming when they find out that Ty is the one who poured the water on the fire the second time that happened. So I'm not sure if there will be repercussions for that, but hey, Ty's got two idols, so he's safe for at least two tribal councils. So that's it for this Survivor recap. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode and my Survivor recap. If you want to watch Survivor, it is on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. on CBS. Like, subscribe, and remember, stay regal.